Okay, I think we're live. So great. Welcome everybody to the first episode of the Markademics Podcast, where we'll be speaking with amazing, talented, bright people in the e-commerce world. My name is Viktor Stoilov. I am the founder of Markademics, e-commerce advertising agency operating all around the world. And since this is the first episode, let me tell you a little bit more what we'll do in general. This is not going to be your typical bullshit podcast. We'll only talk about amazing and super important topics in the e-commerce world. We'll be speaking with people that you might know, you might have heard, or people that are in the shadows that you haven't heard of but are making amazing things in the e-commerce world. We'll be speaking about advertising strategies, logistics, product development, and many more topics that are important in the e-commerce world. And without further ado, I am super happy to introduce you to our first guest of the Markademics podcast, Alex Fedotoff, with whom we'll be discussing how to build a sellable e-commerce brand in today's world. And even though Alex doesn't need much of an introduction, as he's very popular in the industry, just a quick heads up: Alex Fedotoff has scaled e-commerce businesses from $0 to $15 million in less than 16 months in the health and fitness industry, and has generated over $100 million in e-commerce sales throughout his career. Forbes calls him the king of scaling Facebook ads, and his community, the e-commerce scaling secrets, connects and helps entrepreneurs to scale their businesses to 7 and 8 figures. I've been a part of this community, so I can definitely tell you that it's an amazing community. So first, want to thank you, Alex, for joining. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So the topic for today is how to build a sellable e-commerce business. So let's start with the basics. What's the difference between a profitable and a sellable e-commerce store? I'm an owner of e-commerce stores, and there's a big difference from what we've discussed in the call prior to that. What's the main difference between a profitable and a sellable e-commerce business?
For sure. I think there's like quite a few factors when it comes to first of all, I think this topic of selling like e-commerce business, a lot of people are simply not aware that their businesses are even sellable. I think so. There's like there needs to be kind of like more education on that side. A lot of people kind of like running the business and it's profitable, making them income, they're paying their bills, they're having the lifestyle, they get the business to where it provides them the lifestyle that they want. And that's kind of like how it is. They're using it as a cash cow. Versus if you look at like real businesses, like big businesses, right? It's always building of the value, right? So even Facebook, you know, Facebook was valued at and it's still valued, and all of these like technology businesses, most businesses are valued at these like crazy multiples because they're building the values. Like everyone is thinking kind of like more long term. So what this business can become in like 3, 5, 10 years from now with all of this like customer acquisition. So we as entrepreneurs, as bootstrapped entrepreneurs, there's like two types of like kind of like entrepreneurs. One is bootstrapped, where it's like you're taking your savings or you're working like 9 to 5 and you're reinvesting those like few dollars and it's starting the business and it gets momentum, and it's kind of then you keep reinvesting, keep growing it. We kind of like got taught that, I mean, no one actually has taught us. Like I think, it's like we just like, yeah, it's a business that makes money, it's good. It's like I can go to Dubai and I could go to
Yeah.
I could go to Miami, have a good time, and like business pays for that, and like I can buy a car and I can buy a house, and that's usually kind of how success is seen in our space. People like rent a car in Dubai and like work from a laptop and making like these photos, like working from the laptop. So I think there's a gap there, right? In terms of kind of like even like understanding of the business like value. And that's why when it comes to kind of like really understanding your business value, it's like not a lot of people know like what their business worth, and also what are the main factors that could be influenced in order to make the business more valuable. So I can elaborate on each one of these, and like whichever
Yeah.
direction you want to go from here. Like I really want to like educate people and give them the inception that they really can sell their business. Maybe not today, Maybe the business you have today is not worth much, but if you do the right things for the next like 6, 12 months, 1, 2, 3 years, you can build something of like real value, and you can exit it for like millions of dollars or even tens of millions.
Absolutely, and that's a great topic to start off with, I think. And as I said, as a business owner myself of a few businesses and an e-commerce business, I've spoken with different people who have already sold their businesses, and what they tell me is that it's not only enough to have a profitable business. Because, for example, one of my biggest stores. We started off just as a drop shipping store, and they told me, "Hey, if you just keep it as the same model and you just have a cash cow, as you said,
Yeah.
like it is valuable, but
Yeah.
it could be even 10 times more valuable
Yeah.
if you do the right steps." So, what are the important steps for a business? What are the investors looking for when they want to buy? Let's say if you want to completely exit your business, what are the investors looking at before they buy your store or buy your business?
For sure. So, okay, let's one more step back. It kind of like I'm trying to kind of like show people the bigger picture. So there's like different types of like investors, different types of buyers of your business, right? There's like, let's say if I have a business and it produces like, let's say $100,000 a year in profit, and you want to buy that business and you pay me like 200, 300, $400,000 cash, or we finance it, whatever. That's one type of transaction. Whereas other type of acquisition, other type of transaction is a strategic acquisition. So, for example, there was a brand called Hush Blankets. I don't know if you're familiar. Hush Blankets.
Yeah.
It's a Canadian brand, and it was acquired. I mean, brand is like 3, 4, 5 years, and a few years old, but it was acquired for like, I believe it was like 50 million. 25 upfront, and then the rest kind of like earnouts. If I'm not mistaken, it has to be verified, but like it's approximately those kind of numbers. You can Google it. But it was acquired by, let's say, they were selling these like weighted blankets, and there's like and it's there like for sleep, and there's a company that has like bigger, like, I don't know, is it mattresses kind of like chain in the whole Canada, or like more like sleep products. So that company pretty much consumes them, gets all of their customers, so now they can upsell to those customers like mattresses, blankets, whatever that is, right? So now there's like extra value that's in it that company can benefit from. This is strategic acquisition, right? So
Yes.
the value of, like, sometimes businesses might not be as profitable, but they can be a strategic acquisition for someone, and they can still have a lot of value.
Okay, so for example, if I have a business, let's say in the dog industry, and for example, I'm selling, let's say, dog leashes, but there's a huge player that's selling, let's say, dog beds. They might want to buy me because this way they'll just, they'll upsell to their audience way easily, and they'll grab a bigger market share, most probably because of that.
Yeah, they can cross-sell different products. They can bundle them up. They can leverage the customer base. So there's a lot of kind of like ways that these two businesses can kind of like be helpful for each other, and they can also get their money back faster because of that. Because they can literally like increase their sales just by having this. Also on books, their revenue becomes bigger, right? It's kind of like that conglomerate type of the building that conglomerate type of company, and that obviously will impact the valuation. And one more thing, I guess, it's depending on the revenue numbers that you're looking at. I mean, we're taught to optimize for profit. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like it's very good, it's very cool, but there's also a point where you might kind of like sacrifice some of that growth because of the profit, and then it's not good, right? And so we've done that so many times, over the last like years, where I'll say, we can scale it. I clearly see the potential there, but let's just milk it for profit, and that's how it is, So versus like seeing the bigger picture, we might not be as profitable this year, or might just break even, but then next year we're building, like, let's say we're doubling the revenue, and now we can potentially exit. Very simple. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, what are, like, if I you're speaking to way more investors than probably anyone in my circle, but like, what are the investors looking for? Are they looking for a very profitable business, or they're mainly looking for a sustainable, systemized business? What's like hotter for them? What do they want to see?
They want to see like clear like growth trend. So they want to see, let's say, business started 2019, 2020, grows here, 2021 grows, 2022 shows growth projection as well. They want to see that. They want to see kind of like the repeat buyers. They want to see the retention. So if they have to every time, if they have to like acquire a new customer, and that customer that already is there, like the repeat purchase ratios are like 3%. That's like most dropshipping businesses, 3, 5,
Mhm.
7%. I've seen so many of them.
Yep,
Um,
fine as well.
it's that business is like obviously not very valuable. So they're buying the cash flow, and they're buying the peace of mind. They're buying kind of like they're buying the potential ROI. That's what they're buying pretty much. And if your business has the potential to implement any sort of like subscription or like recurring revenue, I mean, that's even better. So if you kind of like, that's again like, so repeat purchase ratio, okay, so even if you're not advertising as heavily, but you can just like send emails and just like retarget people, is still generating sales. The same as if you have like subscription or like recurring purchases, then also you might advertise less, but you're still generating sales. Business is still profitable. That's what they're
Mhm.
buying. They're buying that kind of like peace of mind, and they're buying pretty much ROI on their investment. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does, or at least to me, it makes perfect sense because at the end of the day, if you're like as an investor, they need to see the future, and if it was only a cash cow, they need a bigger cash cow, and if it's a brand, then they can see it like growing in the next, let's say, 3, 5, 7 years, and make their money even more and more, because they probably would like to sell it even like after that in 5 years with like even more profit.
100%. Yeah.
Great. You have a great community of people that are e-commerce stores owners, six figures, seven-figure e-commerce store owners. When you're discussing with them this, and you're having like Q&As with them on the topic, what do you see as main mistakes of people who have grown from 0 to 6 and 7 figures when it comes to exit strategy, or when it comes to actually being ready to even consider an exit strategy?
Very good question. So I think in general, I think mostly it comes down to the kind of like team and how they structured their teams, because one of the big factors is the financial kind of like part, the bookkeeping. So bookkeeping needs to be like very clean. If you want to sell your business, you want to have like you want to close your books every month. You want to have like um, all of the transactions basically associated with a type of spend. So it has to be very clean, like P&L and balance sheet for the business. And a lot of the times, that's just like someone like some accountant does, like who also serves like 20 type of different businesses, or the business owner himself does the bookkeeping. So it's kind of like the mass on that side. I think the kind of the financial side, because even from the like how big investors are looking at the business, obviously they're looking at like non-tangibles like brand equity and stuff, but also they're looking at books. Like Warren Buffett looks at like balance sheet and sees whether the company is actually, and he can kind of like figure out what the company is actually worth. What is it trend year over year? Like, is company trending up or trending down? Like, what is the net profits? What's like R&D spend? What's the market share? What are the new categories? Like, what's the competition? So all of those things, I think people kind of like put on the back burner, the focus on like marketing, ad spend, funnels, kind of like on that like very sexy stuff, and disregarding the financial part. And then like, because if they would actually look at their books and like, okay, so this is the actual profit, and your profit might be actually lower or higher than you think,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of business owners, I mean, let's say you have like a company credit card and you go to the restaurant, right? And you have a personal credit card. like which ones will you use, you know, right? Like, so a lot of companies, like a lot of business, it's like, you know, that's tax deductible. Yeah, you can
Yep.
say I had a lunch with a client. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not, you know, like 5 bottles of like champagne in a club. Probably you didn't, but you know, they still do it, you know. So car, like, do I buy car for my money or companies like money? Oh, it's a corporate car. Oh yeah, actually, yeah, I needed to carry my inventory. I needed to like transport like from one place to another. Yeah, do you really need that, like Mercedes, like brand new Mercedes to
You
transport your
do.
ass?
Of course, when the tax people ask you, that's exactly what you tell them.
Exactly, right? Like,
It's
so
funny. Is that the thing in the States as well? Because like you're coming from Ukraine, I'm coming from Bulgaria, and like in our countries, that's completely 100% the thing. But like that's happening in the States as well, right?
oh shit, man. I mean, I'm in Miami, you know, so it's like here, it's like, you know, people are all over their hat, you know, kind of like trying to show off and like and closes and, you know, kind of like, and who's paying for that? I mean, if they have a business, definitely business is paying for that.
Yeah.
So um so that's one thing, right? Kind of like, because I mean, your business might be like, let's say the business shows like $500,000 profit for the year, but then actually you spend like 100 or $200,000 on your personal stuff.
Yep.
That could be also like, could be actual profit. That's an add back. It's called add back. So it's like, we're actually, that could be the profit, and that profit can actually impact the multiple. So the business multiple is not influenced by 500,000, but actually influenced by that 600 or 700,000. So the actual value of the business might be higher because of those expenses that didn't need to happen, right? So
Yeah.
there's like
Yeah.
different categories of expenses that can be added back to the profit. So that's one thing. I think people kind of like, man, I think in general, like if you kind of like, there's a common thread between all of that. It's like just a short sightedness, you know, short kind of
Mhm.
like, so people want to make profit like today. People want to like, people want to like, people just want to kind of like short term kind of like results and gratification, versus just like reinvesting back into the business and making it as big as it can be. Maybe it's like limiting beliefs. They don't believe they can build like $100 million business. I mean, that was definitely my belief. Like,
Mhm.
I would rather like, I preferred having like kind of like smaller revenue and just like bigger profit and just milk the business and
Mhm.
take the money out of business, instead of just reinvesting in back, reinvesting into branding, better content, more distribution, introducing new SKUs, reinvesting into like R&D to make the
Yep.
profit products like more like vulnerable, like less vulnerable to the competition. So I definitely made all of those mistakes, you know. That's why I'm sharing about those mistakes. Hopefully like at least one person listens and not doesn't do them. So
And you mentioned a little bit something in the top. Like my next question was going to be, what are the most important roles in the company that you need to hire? And I think
mhm.
that number one, what you said, is like a good accountant to make sure that all of your financials are there, because they can make the difference between like a lot of money. But outside of having a great accountant and keeping your bookkeeping like as clean as possible, what are the most important roles that you need to be hiring in the company? Why am I saying this? As an agency owner, I work with
Mhm.
what now, like 30 clients or so at
Uh-huh.
this moment. And we have a few that are looking into getting an investor or selling the business. And the investors are telling them, hey, you don't have the proper team yet. But they don't tell them what types of people to hire, because obviously that's not the job
Yeah.
of the investor. And they're starting to hire different people, and they're like wondering, but like, what type of people do I really need in my
Mm.
business? So if you are that person that you're looking to get a better investment, what are the main key roles that you'll be hiring first before anyone else?
100%. It's a very good question. So in general, I think every business, and I have this book literally here. If you don't have this book, guys, get it. It's called Rocket Fuel. It's a very good book. This book about, like, in every business, every successful business has has a visionary, right? Someone who's like marketers, like, let's sell this. Oh, it's like there's this offer, this product. Let's sell. You know, it's like this is typical kind of like entrepreneur, right? And there's also this like other type of person, the integrator. So integrator is someone who is integrator who is it is someone who's how to say it. So integrator is someone who's more like operational type of person, right?
Okay.
So it's like usually what happens with every business, if it's run only by visionary, the business can scale very fast and can go very far, but it doesn't have the proper backend because it's hard to do both. It's hard to be like good, like kind of like visionary and look for all of these ideas and be excited about them, and then at the same time to streamline all the operations and processes and make sure that everyone on the team is happy and make sure that you attract the right type of people. So if there is like one person that you need to look for, so if you're good like integrator, if you're like good process, but you simply don't know like what to sell, how to sell, it's like maybe that's not your strong suit, then you need a good like visionary, good like marketer to partner up with, because or partner up or hire, because that will help you to just like that will fill that gap, right? So that relationship between like visionary and integrator is the most important business. So if you think about like any successful business, name me like one successful business.
Let's say Blendjet. Like I really love Blendjet, because they
Okay,
scaled up from nothing to like a huge business.
let me see. So Blendjet founders. Yeah. All right. There you go. I don't know if should I share my screen or like I mean you can just Google it. Blendjet.com was founded by old friends Ryan Ramplin and John Jank. So what does it tell you?
There are two people, and most probably one is a great operational guy, and one is like a I see Blendjet in 5 years being this.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Right. So co-founder, right? Like co-founder, CEO. So we assume these type of roles like co-founder and chief revenue officer. That's one guy, and another one is another guy is the CEO, right? So yeah, this is kind of like the type of like relationship that's like core to building any business. Oftentimes where there's like a single founder, I mean, the company can be successful, right? The company can be successful for sure, 100%, but it probably won't be as successful as if it had the actual like like two founders who complementing each other. Like some very successful companies have like 3-4 founders, like one, let's say CTO, one CMO, one CEO, or like this person is great with like business development, can go like to networking events and land some business and like develop relationships and keep everyone happy. This person is good with operations, like keeping everyone on the team happy, hiring, making sure that there's a culture, it's a good culture. There's like a CEO, who's kind of like who can kind of like the face of the brand and also can like drive everyone and bring some new ideas and stuff. So first, like I think it starts with like self-awareness. Okay, who I am, like kind of like what are my strong suits? Like for example, you give me like to sit in the spreadsheets and do some stuff in the spreadsheets. I mean, that will bore me in like fucking 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
So but that's me. I don't know, what about you? Like
we're absolutely the same, because we're like co-founders, and when I see a spreadsheet or I see that I need to fill in some documents, I'm like going crazy. Like I'm allergic to this. Like I hate it, but I love building culture in the business. I love managing that stuff. I love like thinking about, okay, how can we plan it for like three years ahead in time. But when you give me like those small things, like I'm dying. Like that's killing me. So I completely get you on that part. And I think that one of the lessons here, especially for people that are so founders, don't do everything by yourself, especially if you're making profit. I think that's like super important.
For
like
sure.
you're gonna go crazy.
That's a good note here, especially when you're making profit. Okay, so at the beginning, it's like, I mean, you don't have like a lot of money to hire someone, right?
Yeah.
But then once you get business to a certain momentum, this is where you have to start thinking, okay, so who is that like person who can actually come here and like compliment me for those things that I'm not the best at, the person that would seem like enjoy those kind of things that I'm like, as you said, allergic to. So that's the first question. So it starts from the top, right? And then in terms of like hiring, I mean, it just goes from there, like, because different businesses have different models. Like, usually, I mean, I like to keep it simple. I call it like lean e-com team structure. So pretty much how it looks for us is like, if you can like initially, it's all about, I mean, that's my way. Like, I don't know if that's a good or bad, like that, but that's how we
Mhm.
manage to, build like successful businesses. Like, if you can use like contractors for certain things,
Yeah.
you should use them, right? At least while business gets that momentum. If you can use your freelancers to get some stuff done, and it actually gets stuff done, so you avoid those like fixed costs,
Yeah.
then do it. Once you have that momentum, once you can hire people full time and it makes sense for the business, this is where you have to. This is when you can do it, but don't do it. We've had, even in our program, we've had these guys that kind of like expanding too fast, like
Mhm.
hiring like 20, 30, like 40, 50 people, and then like, yeah, building this like very complex kind of like structure. And then like 6 months later, they have to lay off like a lot of these guys, so it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be like extremely like big team. It's better to have like one person. Let's say you have like one like very, very good like video editor that can do the same like work as like three video editors. Then you
Mhm.
have to stick with one, like, because and just less complexity. Managing every single person is an extra effort, and someone needs to do it, right? Giving that person feedback. The person, like, people have issues all the time, right? Like, so I think the simpler you can keep it, like, give you example. One of our clients, in ESS, he sold the business for like $3 million cash. I mean, it's not like extremely large transaction, but I mean, after like
It's still 3 million.
it's still, yeah, it's okay. It's like two and a half after all the fees, like
Mhm.
so 2.5 cash in his bank account, and he had like one VA, you know, and that's it. Because the business was very simple. It's like one product store with like some extra like SKUs, and that's it. Very simple product, consumable. So the people buy it, then they, 1 month they need it again. So that will depend on your like business model. So if your business model is like testing a lot of products, which I personally don't like that model. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I simply don't have mind for that business model. But I know some people still doing it, like general store model, like testing
Yeah.
a bunch of products. Then your team structure will be different. But the way I think about it in general, like for team building, is like you gotta have someone in charge, right? Like, so if you want to just have like more mind space, then you want to have the person who's responsible for specific outcomes that are reported for the business. So the way we have it, let's say we have a project, let's say we have like a store, like a niche store,
Mhm.
and we run like mostly on Facebook. That's our
Yeah.
main source of traffic. So what we do is we gradually get our media buyers, like someone who's actually buying ads on Facebook, who's working with video editor, someone for the technical kind of like part, who'll do the website, and like kind of like making sure that everything's functioning there, who's working with a support team, making sure the product quality, everything is on point, giving them feedback if necessary. So kind of like a project manager that
Mhm.
is incentivized by specific outcomes, which is the revenue, profit, ROAS, right?
Yeah.
If you simplify it. So from that business, and then they're getting paid based on that. So for example, if they get like a blended ROAS of, let's say, 3
Yeah.
on all of the platforms, let's say there is some Google, they might work with some agency or some freelancer for Google. They
Mhm.
might work with email marketing agency for emails, right? And SMS, kind of like observing, giving them feedback. So they're like pretty much like a project manager for this like business unit, right? This is at least how our business structured,
Yeah.
where these are like small teams, like pretty much like 4 6 people on that small team, because usually one manager can effectively manage like 5-6 units.
Yeah.
And so that's how our business is structured. So what you want to do is, when you're hiring, you want to be looking for people that have this kind of like, either they have experience, that's ideal case scenario, or you see that they can kind of like work, like they can be exceptional. Let's say there are people that can be like exceptional, like doing specific type of tasks, and they're like introverts and they're doing everything by themselves. But there's also people that can work great with other people and can lead, can motivate them, and can like collaborate and give feedback. Those type of people you need, that if you want to grow something, that if you don't want to be like the one who's kind of like constantly bottleneck of the whole operation.
That's great. And I know from like, I know as a fact that you like the concept of hiring top down, which means like very experienced people first, and then people that are like less experienced. In my agency, I've done the opposite, which has worked for the agency, but I don't think it's gonna be perfectly working for the store. So when you're hiring very experienced people or like highly qualified people, where are you looking for those people? Because like I'm getting those questions all the time. Where do you find great talent? Because everyone's saying that they're an expert in e-commerce, and especially for Facebook ads, you know, everyone is an expert of Facebook advertising for e-commerce. How do you like? Where do you find those people?
And honestly, like, you know, specifically for Facebook, I mean, that's different for certain things, but
Hmm.
for Facebook specifically, I'm like, I don't know if, I mean, if you're like hands-on person, like if you kind of like figured out what's working for you,
Yeah.
then it's probably better to get someone like who has like a good attitude and just train them.
Yeah.
You know, like graduates from like math, kind of like those people need to be like T personality type. So there's like F and there's like T. I think it's Myers-Briggs personalities. So those are kind of like more analyticals, more like data-driven people. You don't want like just kind of like creative type of people. Like they're like, you know, oh, I like this ad.
They're all over the place.
Yeah, let's leave this ad, and like, and it's like, and they start like, oh, I want to test this and this and this and this and this and this. I want to test it all at the same fucking time. So you know, so you need more people that are like process driven, can feel like the spreadsheets end of the day, kind of like looking at the data. Okay, so we can do this better, this creative works, this doesn't, and it's data, it's not their opinion. Those type of people, specifically for the media buying positions, we've had success with. We hired people that are like, as you said, like experts. Oh yeah, I've been through this and I work with this
Yeah.
company, this company, this company, and then we hired them, and it's like, and they have a lot of prejudice. Oh,
Yep.
but in this company,
I've done the following.
yeah, exactly.
We've done it this way.
Exactly.
In the previous agency, we were doing ads this way. And I'm like going crazy because like
Yeah.
you're not a marketer. You're just following a process that it worked 2 years ago in a different
Exactly.
project.
Exactly, because every business is different, right? Like every audience. So
Exactly.
let's say selling like a beauty product for like older women, you need another type of creative, you need another type of like conversion mechanism, you need another type of, maybe you need the pre-sell. Like there's like so many different like moving parts in this, that the person needs to be extremely like flexible and adaptable, versus having this like kind of like fixed mindset that, okay, this is the only approach that works because it works somewhere else. But so that's for a media buyer. For other positions, you definitely, I mean, bringing experience is not bad. The mistake that we have made was we would bring people like this, like very like corporate experience, you know,
Mhm.
expensive, like,
Mhm.
you know, 160,000 dollars a year experience also on paper. But I
Mhm.
mean, those people from corporate, I mean, corporate environments, you don't have a lot of like hands-on. It's usually like levels of bureaucracies, like, oh, this person does this, and like you just kind of like filling some paperwork, and like this person seems to be doing this, and then it's just like it's a lot of
And
talk, you know.
it seems like they like even though they might have 5 years of experience, another person that has been through a non-corporate work has done almost the same amount of work in like 6 months.
Yeah, it's
So
it's like the way I would think about it. So if you're like growing, for the audience listening, if you're growing like D2C brand,
mhm.
this industry is so young and it's so like fast moving that for someone, even like just because, I mean, when you're older, I mean, you're not learning as fast usually, right? Like, so it's like just that itself is a hard kind of like thing to do. At some point of this, maybe after like 100 million, 200 million, maybe you have to kind of like get more like layers of like management and stuff like that. Maybe not. But like you don't have to overcomplicate stuff, right? And a lot of the times you get like someone like who's like fresh, maybe doesn't have a lot of experience. Maybe
Hmm.
like, for instance, give you example, like on our team, we hired some people from ESS. They've been
Hmm.
through like they've been through the program, they tried like entrepreneurial kind of like
Yeah.
stuff. It didn't work out for them for some reason. They're more like kind of they like more like they like to be part of the team. They might not be kind of like right now able to build their own teams. Maybe over time they'll be able to for sure, but they kind of like want to be part of something, right? And we hire them, and these are like young people, like 20 years old, 22 years old, 25 years old. A lot of the companies that I know, like the founders and the whole like team is like 20, 25, like 30 years is already kind of like top, like 30, 35. A lot of these like fast growing companies. So I would just kind of like look probably more at the like attitude. Sometimes you need to bring like experience, but I mean, experience you can buy. Okay, so you can buy a consultant to
Yeah.
help you with your tax strategy. All right, it doesn't have to be like a full-time type of person that will come in and like slow everyone down, like especially if you only do like $3 million a year. I mean, that's nothing. Like maybe when you do 50 and you have to be compliant, there's like so many like regulations and you get
Yeah.
noticed by all these government agencies. Okay,
Yeah.
so in that case, yes, you hire, but then you hire the best. You hire Deloitte, you hire all of these companies. So it doesn't have to be in house.
So
um
basically, we can safely say that, okay, you get people with great attitudes, like to join your team, but you can get them like some contractors or like some consultants that you pay hourly or like on
yeah,
some kind of a fee, and they help you all with like the more specific things or
yeah,
like
they fill the
things.
gaps. Exactly,
They
they
fill
fill
the
the gaps.
gaps.
Even like, okay, let's say we want to figure out like influencer marketing process, right? Let's
Yeah.
say very simple task. What's the best way to do it? Like to hire someone with like 5 years of experience like in influencer marketing, who's like kind of
Is there
like,
even like people that do it for 5 years? Listen.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the whole industry is like 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so it's like, what's the best to do in that case? I mean, you jump on calls with like pay these people like $500,000 each. Jump on like 5, 10, 20 of these people. Take a lot of notes. There's platforms like Clarity FM. There's platforms like Intro. I think Intro, where you can get people like kind of like conversations with people. You can go on LinkedIn, message like, hey, we're building this type of brand, and we need we are building our influencer marketing process. This is our brand. We want to buy like a consulting from you, 1 hour of your time. Would you be able to do it? We would
Yeah.
appreciate it so much. We are not in competitive industries, right? Obviously you don't want to go to your competitor and ask,
Yeah.
so but I mean, sometimes you can go and like sometimes those people looking for change, but you can get a lot from just like these conversations. What I get, like, even from and what you will do as well. I mean, you have this podcast now. Like,
Yeah.
hey, use this for your own business. Whoever you want to get in touch with. Like, for example, I had an interview with a chief operating officer. Now he's CEO of Ridge Wallet. Company does $100 million a year. Like Ridge Wallet.
Yeah.
They sell this
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I
small.
know it. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
You show
Also, I
them
mean,
very oftenly on your stories. Yeah.
yeah, he's very, very smart and very cool guy, young guy. And I'm learning as much. Like, I'm interviewing him, I'm asking the questions that I would have asked him if I had to pay for it. So you can use your platform. You can cut it if you want this sound, but you know what I mean. But it's like
Yeah.
kind of like getting the experience that you want just from connecting with
Exactly.
people, talking with people.
I just bought 40 minutes of your time, and I'm super happy for that. And since I
See,
know that we only have like 5 minutes,
see,
five
man,
minutes.
that's otherwise you'd have to pay like 5 Gs for this,
Okay, okay. Like I got lucky today.
Yeah, man.
But I had so many more questions to ask you, and I might reserve another time in a few episodes just to finish off the topic.
Let's
But
do it, man. Yeah.
absolutely. But if you're right now starting off your business, you have, let's say, $2,000 in your
Uh-huh.
pocket. Like, what are you doing compared to, let's say, 2019? Like, what's the difference right now? Because like everyone's like talking, oh, the CPMs, all the CPA, Facebook's not working as it used to be. Like, what are you doing? What's the difference?
Man, I wouldn't even go like on Facebook most likely. I
So,
probably would go to like TikTok. I probably would go like organic. I probably go like influencers. I'll get initial momentum there, kind of like in the more like organic way. Just send influencers like free products.
mhm.
Um, Probably I would do it that way. If I were to start like today, um, yeah. Unless I had a product that like, on Facebook is not very like competitive or like has good margins. I
Mhm.
think like good margins is a key on Facebook, um, because you're competing with all these like brands that advertising there for years. So probably I would go on more like TikTok, and also like I think TikTok, if you can figure out like these days, if you can figure out like TikTok, it's more like this is where everything's going. Like Facebook is literally losing market share to TikTok, right? So in
Yeah.
terms of the content, this is where you have to learn how to produce like engaging content. A lot of content from TikTok repurposed and actually used on Facebook converts very well.
Works so well. It works so well, especially on Reels, especially on story formats. It's
Yeah,
like crazy.
exactly. So this is probably what I would do with that initial budget. And compared to what I would do, like let's say 3 years when I was starting out, I would just like take a random product, sell it.
Yeah.
I would really dedicate some time to like branding. Like good looking website, good looking packaging. There's platforms like Suna,
Okay.
Suna, where you can send them the product, they can make a product photography. I would probably make like custom content. Like as soon as I could probably validate the product, but then I would start making custom content really kind of like early in the process versus before we would just like
Go on ad
just
spy and like
yeah
steal some ads and like
yeah
repurpose them,
yeah,
right?
and it's like we do stuff like that and like YouTube and like source. It kind of like it can work, but it's like, what are you trying to do? Like here, like I'm more like long term, kind of like have like more like long term thing. I'm not trying to make like another $1 million or like $5 million, or like 10 million. Like I want to build something that's like sustainable and will be like worth like $100 million in 2 years.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do. So my mindset will be probably different than most people, but I think kind of like being dedicated and thinking a little bit long term. Not
Yeah.
You don't have to think 10 years from now, but like just a little bit. Just kind of like think what you're trying to build, what type of brand, how do you want it to look, how do you want it to feel, what do you want it to stand for, what's your like message, what's your mission on the brand, like why it exists in the first place.
Hmm.
Um, Kind of like giving more thought to those type of ideas, I think would make a massive difference, like long term.
Amazing. And since we have only a minute left, where can people contact you? And are there any spots left in the ESS? Should people join, and when should they join? Why they should join?
Yeah, man. So as you know, like ESS is for people that are already kind of like doing numbers. We we will have probably an offer for people who just like starting out and like building like brands from scratch in like few months, kind of like to guide people through that whole process, because we want to build like the biggest community of like brand owners like in the world.
Mhm.
Um, and but right now it's like, so ESS is if you do like 30-50K per month plus, you want to grow farther, you want to go to like 100K per month, 300, 500, 1 million, you want to build something sustainable, you want to exit eventually, that's what we can help you with. It's ecommerce-scaling-secrets.com. If you want to check it out.
We'll have
Also,
it in the description in the video and the podcast as well.
cool. And then my YouTube channel, it's Alex Fedotoff. You can check out, we do videos, like educating people, trying to help as much as possible with just free content and what's working for us.
Amazing. And also, they should follow you on Instagram. It's so funny to look at your posts nowadays there.
Yeah,
So
my
definitely,
marketing guy will say, let's do something funny. I'm like, yeah, my life is funny already. Like, yeah, what do you
yeah.
want to see? Like,
That's so great. Well, Alex, I really want to thank you for being my first guest of the Markademics podcast, and I hope that we can catch up on the next episode to
For
discuss
sure.
even more the topic.
And thank you.
And
It's a great pleasure. It's a great honor. Something great is starting here. I think the people who listen to it will be kind of like, smart people, like entrepreneurs building something sustainable. So, yeah, I'm glad I was here, helping you on this journey. So,
yeah,
and we'll be excited to watch kind of like how it evolves from here.
well, thank you very much. We want to build a podcast that's not a clickbait podcast with like crazy headlines or like crazy thumbnails with like bullshit. No, none of that. We want to just provide value, and I think that you've provided so much today. So thank you very much. Stay tuned for the other episodes that are coming up, and yeah, feel free to message Alex or to message me for any help that you need. And yeah, that's up for me. See you. Bye bye.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Victor. Thank you guys for listening.